So last week, we did the Cryptid Game. People were loving it. I mean, just overwhelming support for the Cryptid Game. People really like it. Here's what we do.
I like it.
I talk about a cryptid, right? It's a creature that may or may not exist. Peter gives us the everyman's opinion on whether it's possible. And then Forrest, the broologist, speculates on, could it be something else? Could it be an animal? What could it be? What's the biologist's opinion of this? All right. So we're going to start with one that neither of you have heard of.
Okay.
If you lived in Arkansas, you might have heard of it. You might have heard it howling in the middle of the night from the Ozarks, high up in the mountains. It's called the Ozark howler.
Wow. Okay.
So this is something that people specifically in Arkansas, part of the Ozarks, they say it is it's bear-like in shape. It looks like a bear.
Okay.
But it's gray.
Okay.
I don't know what Will has pulled up there.
This is not matching
quite,
the description
quite
of
look
the
like
image Will
deer
has.
or a goat.
That's fine. The classic Ozark howler is bear-like in shape. It's gray, has a very shaggy coat,
Okay.
and it howls, but doesn't sound like a wolf. Yeah, there you go. There's a classic Ozark howler.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big difference from the last image, by the way.
The first one was like Toonsis the cat, and then so here's the thing that I want you guys to know. Last year, this was in 2015. 4029 News in Arkansas was contacted and sent some photographs of what was purported to be an Ozark howler.
Okay.
They then communicated with Arkansas Game and Fish to try and verify whether these were real, whatever, and they were split. Arkansas Fish and Game said, I don't think those are real photos. The people at the news station thought, they looked at them forensically, thought they were. They decided not to publish the photos.
Wow. So they haven't been seen at all.
Those photos have never been seen, but the news station wanted to show them, but they decided not to. But the next year, there were numerous sightings reported to Arkansas Fish and Game, which were investigated in Benton County, Arkansas, of this creature that we're looking at here. So what do you think, Ratep? You think the Ozark howler?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so after this news story came out that there was a controversy about the pictures, you're saying that there was a bunch of sightings the following year after that?
Yes.
This is nonsense. This thing doesn't exist. That thing that Will pulled up definitely doesn't exist. But I gotta say that it's there's something going on out there because bears apparently in the Ozarks growl with an Arkansas accent. I read just now as I was trying to find out information about this and to see like if there's bears and have some bearing.
Nice self laugh.
Thank you.
I think that maybe there was a guy dressed. I got to see these pictures. I don't understand why they wouldn't release the pictures. The whole thing doesn't make sense. It's bullshit. There's no reason they wouldn't release the pictures as a news company, even if they were, fake or considered fake by the game commission. So
sure.
I don't think there was anything.
Okay. Forrest, thoughts?
I have some. So, the Ozarks happen to be one of the last strongholds for wild red wolf populations. The red wolf, which is a relatively small canine that used to live throughout the southeastern United States. Now I believe there's only one wild population left. It's North or South Carolina, I can't remember. Beautiful, incredible creatures. But once those animals' populations were driven down to, near nothing, as we all know, wolves howl when they're looking for mates, when they're looking for, each other. So it's not unreasonable to think of a couple lone red wolves running around the Ozarks howling late at night, which is, I'm guessing, where the name came from. And, just like what I'm looking at there is a werewolf, right? It's a werewolf with thorns.
Yeah, it is.
So at the end of the day, someone sees a wolf, but, in the 15 minutes from when they see it to when they get back to their car, in their mind, it's getting bigger, their claws are getting longer, all of a sudden it has horns, it's getting jacked, it stands on its back legs, and bam, you got yourself a little Ozark howler running around.
Hell yeah. Smart.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the same thing.
But see, this is why it's fun. This is why this game's fun, because it's really fun to think about what did you actually see, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think a bunch of people just went, should we create a bear that howls?
No.
Like, I think
no,
people
I think
saw
they saw
something and talked
Yeah.
about it. So it's pretty fun to quiz a
I like
biologist
it.
on this stuff.
And I think that, there's nothing to prove what I just said, but it makes sense, right?
Sure.
Howling, wolf,
Yeah.
you figment of your imagination, it gets bigger, it gets scarier. Shit, if I see a wolf, I'm a biologist, right? If I'm out for a hike by myself and I see a wolf, by the time I get home, no matter what, that wolf's 200 pounds, and it was right behind me. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
it's not, the story is never like, yeah, it was just a little guy, it had no interest in me, it wasn't scary. That's not how the story ever goes.
Right. Right. All right. So we're going double no. There is no such thing
Yep.
as the Ozark howler. Second,
Correct.
we're going classic, old school. Probably the first or one of the first two cryptids that any little kid learns about in America, the Loch Ness Monster. The reason I said it in America is because I don't know if you hear about it in Zimbabwe. Was that something you had heard of as a kid?
Yeah, but we just called it Ugudugudugudu. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
All right.
It's just
So-
being racist towards myself.
Sure, which I think you're allowed to do, so don't worry.
I don't know.
So the Loch Ness Monster was first reported in 1870s in Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands, right? So
Yep.
very much said to be this like long-necked creature that, I think I was probably 5 years old when I knew that it was probably a plesiosaur, if anything. It's a real
Plesiosaur,
deep...
That's what I was trying to find right now. Plesiosaur.
Yeah, it's
Thank
a real
you.
deep lake, I believe, right? Loch Ness is really
Yes.
deep.
Extremely.
Nothing really else needs to be said about the Loch Ness Monster. It's just a famous cryptid. Let's go Forrest first on this one and hear the biological perspective.
Yeah, it's funny. I was quickly started frantically Googling to try and remember the name of that dinosaur, and I know you're a big dinosaur nerd, so you remembered it straight away. But the common, the most widely accepted thing is it's nonsense. But there is some interesting stuff that some people know about, like the loch, right? They've done a bunch of LiDAR scans and sonar scans. They've tried to find it. They've found weird big shapes, and it's so deep that they can't properly map it. And there's some interesting stuff. And the idea that I know has floated around is that if, basically because it's so deep and it's so cold, that since the Cretaceous era, the plesiosaur could have survived, and there would be, one or two or this very small population living in Loch Ness, and that's what people have seen. Now, personally, I think that's nonsense. I think people, I don't know how this got blown so far out of proportion. I think that they've probably seen drifting logs and, crazy Scotsmen who've been way too drunk or God knows what, but I don't think it's real. But I like the idea because of just how, Will, do me a favor, pull up a picture of a plesiosaur, just how badass the plesiosaur is.
Oh, yeah.
If that came out, straight up, if that came out that there was one there, or if I had any semblance of belief that there was one there, I'd probably dedicate my life to trying to see a plesiosaur, because I think that would just be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Well, while Will looks for the picture, there we go. Good Lord. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so dope.
That's basically like every creature we build in the Battle Royale.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Look at those teeth. Fucking hell, mate.
So cool.
All right, so real quickly before we go to Peter's everyman opinion, what is something... Okay, it's freshwater. It's a very deep lake, almost 800 feet deep. Mm-hmm. What is a freshwater water animal that you could see that might give you the thought that there was some long-necked snake-like thing? Are there huge eels that can be in freshwater? What kind of stuff might you see?
Yeah, sure. Big eels, salmon in that part of the world. Salmon, they get 40 or 50 pounds. Big eels. Obviously, there's crocodilians, things like that, but they're not hanging out in Scotland.
Right.
So it's, there's not... It's not like the UK is known... it's not like the United Kingdom is known for its megafauna, right? So there's really not much that stands out. I mean, maybe a big eel. I think they have conger eels in freshwater up there. But, yeah, to me, there's just nothing that really adds up. It's just a story that's got blown way out of proportion.
Peter?
Well, I know a little bit about this because I've just been furiously Googling it.
Oh, shut up. You read about this when you were a kid eating deep dish.
No, I don't. Eating deep dish. Made out of Loch Ness monster meat. But, so, The picture that's the most famous picture of it, the first one purported, to be taken. And looking at it, it looks like some type of fucking big dinosaur or some type of big, sticking out there. But then, if you're interested at all,
it does.
and you read further, about a year later, they analyzed the photo and they figured out that that's really only about 3 to 4 inches tall. That monster right there, and that it was essentially deemed a giant hoax. But you forget about that stuff. So I always thought, well, why couldn't this thing exist in this very deep freshwater lake? And but there's just been really no solid evidence. And I think it's one of those things where people psychologically, it's like this tradition. So now it's like what they're known for. So they play it up. They try and take pictures of whatever. There was like a large, there was a big, it was they saw on some type of like sonar or something, a big mass following a boat there. And that was a big thing at one point. And then that was found out, or they suspect that was just like a large algae bloom. So I don't think that anything other than a 3 to 4 inch worm exists in Loch Ness as far as monsters go.
Yeah, that one's pure fucking bollocks. I have no hope for that one. I have more hope for the Arkansas howler than this one, to be honest.
For sure.
The Arkansas werewolf.
That's right. All right, so the third one, another good one of my favorites. Probably my favorite, to be honest, the kraken. Not only is it a delicious dark rum, they're not a sponsor, but the kraken's pretty fucking cool. It's essentially a giant sea monster that was first written about by the Norse, by the Scandinavian folklore, the Norse sagas. The Vikings have written about it. There was I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but in actually what's called Plesiosaur State Park in Nevada, where that used to be part of the ocean during the time the plesiosaurs lived, where they found a lot of the intact skeletons of the plesiosaur. A scientist, goddamn, I can't remember his name, but what are they called? Paleontologist found what's called what is it called? A coven. Yep. An octopus coven. So he basically found, octopus or cephalopods, I guess in general, will play with their food. You could probably explain what a coven is better, Forrest.
Yeah, it's a den where octopus go, and basically you can see them. Will, you could even pull up a picture, but basically it's a den, and they collect all their food, and then out in front of that den you see all these deposits because octopus eat, they eat mollusks and things like that. So you see all these deposits of the shells and fish bones and all the things that they've eaten are deposited right outside of their hull, essentially, and that's what a coven is.
So he found, and I guess the way that octopus arrange the bones and the things they spit out from the fish and the mollusks, they sort of arrange them in these sort of hallmark patterns that are very typical of an octopus. And they found what he claims was a coven, and that same pattern of bones that have been spit out of something that was eating plesiosaurs.
Wow.
Which is the Loch Ness monster.
Right.
So his theory was that this had to be some sort of humongous octopus that lived at the same time plesiosaurs lived that was eating the plesiosaur. That guy has been certainly called into question. He's legit. Like, he's a real scientist. He works. I can't remember where he works. I just don't remember his name, unfortunately. But a lot of people have shit on him for it. Either way, I thought it was pretty cool.
Hey, you're allowed to have theories. You don't have to. I hate that because people get cold and asshole just for having a theory. It doesn't mean he necessarily believes it. You know what I mean? It's just a theory.
Right. Exactly. So, Retep, could there have been a humongous 50-foot-long octopus known as the kraken that was attacking Viking ships as they wrote about? Or is that something that doesn't exist?
Let me explain something. They absolutely existed because the aliens that came down that are octopus, there's many different species of them. They are very good at hiding. Krakens probably still exist. They're very advanced and intelligent, and they likely live very deep in the Marianas Trench, hiding and only coming out to fuck with people. But this thing still exists. It existed then. There's probably other different types of kraken and octopus. As we all know, they came from space. So yes, it exists. 100.
I mean, that's basically the biologist perspective, but let's hear another one. Let's get it.
100% yes. I'm with Retep. The kraken is real. Does that mean that there is a single fabled giant cephalopod? No, that's not what I believe. I believe that we only got our first live video images of a colossal squid, I don't know, 4, 5, 10 years ago, whatever it was. I don't remember any longer. Right. We only found out that some of these jumbo squid existed in the last 20, 30 years. Before that, we didn't even know what the patterns on the side of sperm whales were. We just realized there were big holes in them like this from the suction cups from their battles with giant squid. Right. Now, we know that the ocean used to be a lot more abundant with life before all, the fishing pressure. We know that. We know that there's giant squid. I personally have been out on super calm days right here in Santa Barbara where the Humboldt squid come to the surface and put their tentacles out of the water. And it's one of the airiest, most crazy-looking things ever because all the squid go upside down in this big, field. And Humboldt squid get to, 12, 15 feet long. And all the squid go upside down in a field and put their tentacles out and reach up. And if you happen to be on a slow-moving ship that sails into that, or the squid decide to do that, where your boat is, or that happens to be a colossal squid or a jumbo squid, etc., that's doing that, that's a kraken. Especially, when Vikings were describing it, back in the day where the sky was blue because, God smited us or whatever. You know what I mean? That's a kraken. Yeah. That's a mythological beast. We didn't know underwater exploration. That wasn't a thing. We didn't have deep sea cameras. So the kraken, 100%, it's a real thing. There are giant squid that I completely believe have wrapped around ships and boats and have terrified people throughout humanity. There's just less of them now, and we don't see them very often, and we're still learning what species are out there.
Yeah, I mean, look at the image he pulled up, right? We think of ships as a fucking cruise ship or what we're used to seeing now.
Right.
Think about what the Vikings were traveling in. They were
in
2 feet off the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, their head it was as if your ass was on the water. You're right there. So all of a sudden you look and see that thing, you're fighting for your life, you think.
For sure.
I mean, that'd be horrific.
That's why my opinion, there's no question about whether or not the kraken is real. It is real. I don't know what species of squid it is, but it's real.
Octopus.
There we go. So we got 2 no's, 1 definitive yes from all 3 of us. If you like the Cryptid Game, pop a like on it. Let us know. We'll do more. We like doing
Subscribe.
Yeah, it's
Join the Discord.
Do it.
Wildtimes.club. We love you.
.club.